And then hello. Just we're right back. My name is Anders Rosenquist. Welcome to Behind the Mascot. And we have the lovely wait that way. What's your name?
Cameron Octor,
Hell yeah. And you were the you're the mascot for
University of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner, baby.
hell yeah. So the first thing I want to ask, I need to get this right before I start the podcast, is how's my form?
Pretty good, I gotta say. I like it.
So how is it having your rival as the University of Texas? Like we're our rivals of the Ducks, and they're pretty nationally like reviled, but the University of Texas, I feel like it's everyone against them. So having them be your main rivals, how is that?
It's an honor, honestly. No, I mean, yeah, the whole country does horns down, and they're kind of a meme sometimes just about the things they do, the things they say. I mean, it seems every year one of their coaches does something that's like pretty questionable. But not to get too deep into it, I think they're a good program. They're unique. They're huge. They're like with a lot of things considered like the biggest in the nation in many ways. And they have a lot of great people that come out of there for sure. So, and everyone I've met from there is really awesome. So, I mean, it is like I wish I could say it's like a friendly rivalry. In some ways it is, but in most ways it's pretty nasty, and people really mean it whenever they say like "fuck Texas" or "oh you sucks" or any of that. So, but it's fun. It's definitely interesting at times.
Yeah, I got to admit, when I was in college, I wouldn't watch too many OU games just strictly because OU would always win. So it's like, why would I watch this? Except I would always put on the Kansas State games and the Red River Showdown.
Yeah, yeah.
So those games are always insane. What was that one? Texas came up to a 28-0 lead. Were you in suit for that?
Yes, I wasn't.
Were you
I wasn't in
handling?
suit, but I was sidelined for that game. I got to be down on the field for that, and it was pretty intense. Every OU Texas is intense in some way. This past one was something we try to forget about, but yeah.
So what was going through your mind when you're on the sideline and Texas takes, what was it, a 28-0 lead? Did you
Mhm.
think it was over, or did you just think like, well, we're Oklahoma, so it's not
It
over until
was
it's over?
it was kind of early, and I was like, of course this happens, like we're doing really good, or just like something comes up. It's so unpredictable every OU Texas, and I had hope. I definitely was not giving up. The energy was still there for all the OU fans. Like we were all still hype, and anytime we would make a good play, and then all of a sudden it turned around. And yeah, and that environment was absolutely ridiculous. That's the craziest environment I've ever seen. I've ever been a part of in an OU game. It was so loud and just so much energy flowing, and it was really cool.
So I already know I pissed off all the Oklahoma State fans straight up by saying that's your biggest rival. So
It's true
how does
though.
it feel to be rivals with the least cool orange and black OSU?
I've always said, and a lot of people say, Oklahoma is Oklahoma State's biggest rival, but not vice versa. Like
Hmm.
Texas is our biggest rival, but to them, we're their Super Bowl pretty often. It's the little brother syndrome, that's just what happens when you're the second best school in your state. So
That's what
no, I
Oregon said. That's what Oregon says about us in Washington.
yeah. Uh-huh. It happens in a lot of states. I mean, it's common, but no, I have tons of like two of my best friends from high school went to Oklahoma State. My grandpa was an Oklahoma State fan, so I always had some love for them, and lots of my family went there or still has like affiliation with it. So that is a very non hostile rivalry. But but I say that for a lot of the in-state Oklahoma fans. If you have like people from Texas that go to OU, they really hate Oklahoma State just because they're like, it'll go away. Like, what are you? But
Yeah, I'm from the Bay Area, California, and I went to school in Oregon. So a lot of the Los Angeles plants in Oregon were always a lot worse than the ones that were born and raised. Because like a lot of them, like, oh, my dad went to Oregon, or
yeah,
so if you're from Oklahoma, it's like a lot more like family ties. So it's
yes,
like it's more like friendly and cordial. It's like, oh, like fuck you during that actual game. But for the
yeah,
most part, it's like pretty okay. But the people that come into Oklahoma, they hate Oklahoma State
yeah,
because that's the rivalry.
right, right.
Okay.
All right.
Now, dude, I love to see that. So now
Yeah.
we got that off the bat. I have some shared photos you shared for me, and I've also done a little quick, small little dive, and I have some photos I need you to explain and go into
Cool.
detail for. So I'll just do that right here. So
Yeah.
first off, we'll start simple. JPEG of the dog. What is the
Yeah,
dog?
JPEG,
History of the dog.
super bad quality. That's literally the best quality photo I could find on Google. So this is Mex the Bulldog. He was the first like mascot, never official, but was the first mascot the university had in like the tens and twenties. And he was lived in like the Kappa Sig frat house. He was beloved by everyone. He died in like 28, and legend says he's buried under the 50-yard line of Owen Field at the OU stadium. So not too sure how true that is, but at orientation they have these ghost tours for new students that you can kind of go through and go around the
Mm.
campus, get like these legends. And legend is if you're at the stadium at like midnight, you can hear a dog barking in the distance, and it's supposed to be Mex saying hello from beyond the grave. So pretty cool.
Oh, dude, when they actually renovated half of our stadium, they found mammoth bones underneath our stadium, like fossilized mammoth
That's
bones.
crazy.
So I don't know. That's the thing about like animals being buried under stadiums, but if we have mammoth bones, then the dog's definitely there.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's number two.
Yeah, so Top Dog, that was the first costume mascot we had in the 80s, back in the Billy Tubbs era when OU was like going to the Final Four back to back and producing a lot of good players. They had this Top Dog mascot. He was around for maybe 10, 15 years, maybe like 20 years, and beloved by everyone. He was only at basketball games, which is interesting because, you know, OU's always been a football powerhouse, and just something extra, I guess, for the basketball games. And so really cool, very good history with him. And still we would get people asking, where's Top Dog? A lot of older fans asking like, where's Top Dog? Where's Top Dog? And so he still has a big name and a big legend, a mythos around him, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's another thing. Oklahoma is always known as the football school, but they're also
Yeah.
like done pretty good in basketball. I think they beat us
Yeah.
the other year. And did they beat Cade Cunningham with Oklahoma State?
I think so. I think at least once, I'm sure.
My only knowledge for that. Sorry to keep talking about Oregon State, but we beat
Oh, you're
Cade
fine.
Cunningham. We kicked him out in the round of 32. So we were his last college loss. So that's how the
Yeah,
only reason I know about Cade Cunningham.
nice. That's the Roughneck Squad. So, and the Sooner Schooner with the original, the real Boomer and Sooner ponies. So the costume mascot that I was, is like after these ponies. He's made after these ponies. Ponies are still around. We're on the fifth iteration of them.
Mhm.
But the first Sooner Schooner started in like I think the 60s, like 64 or something like that. And they run them around the field, and that's the official mascot of the university is the schooner, the wagon, not even the ponies, not the Roughneck Squad, but the schooner. So
And just
um,
and just for a brief history lesson for people that might not know, why the wagon for Oklahoma?
yeah, so Oklahoma was the land that is Oklahoma was a big part of the land run. So back in the 19th century, they did different like land grants that were allowing farmers to get land, whatever. They wanted people to move out west. So they had this land run race where basically if you got to your land first, you could plant and you could be there first. But the Sooners were the ones that cheated and did the race early. They got to the land first, to Oklahoma first, planted in that area, and yeah, and so everyone called them the Sooners, and so they used, you know, these wagons, these stagecoaches, these schooners. That was what they used basically to travel, kind of like Oregon Trail
Yeah.
vibe, you know.
Yeah, so this is like the spirit squad. This isn't like the cheerleaders. These are the people that kind of help like engage the student section and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
So the Roughnecks are the oldest all male spirit squad in the country and second oldest in the world. And
don't tell that to
um,
Texas A&M.
yeah, 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 of
Yeah, at
course.
least they don't have to
Texas
dress up
A&M,
like
they have
that.
their own cult-ish beliefs, in my opinion.
Hey, dude, you're the one going to the SEC and dealing with
Yeah,
that.
I know. At least,
My conference is dissolving as we speak.
right,
Thanks
right.
USC, but we're gonna get into that.
Yeah,
So that's another photo of the
yeah,
two
yeah.
horses.
So they run them on the field at the beginning of the game, and then after every point scored, after every touchdown and everything, and super fun getting to see them run around. They get huge cheers, screams, applause every time they're out on the field. So And the Roughnecks take care of those ponies too. So those ponies are they live like queens. They're very pampered, and they get a lot of love and care and attention. So yeah.
So I know the Colorado. I did a Colorado
Yeah.
mascot game, and they do the Ralphie run where they run the
Mhm.
buffalo out. I was trying to communicate with one of them. I wanted to like go drinking with them after the game, or like I wanted to party with them, but I like had to communicate. And then he implied that like, oh no, need to get a full night's rest, and he needs to do all these things. So the Ralphie people are super strict. That's their thing. That's not like the club. It's not like it's almost a cult to an extent. So is the Spirit Squad for the Sooners the same way? It was like you need to try out and you need to be really good and have like experience with horses beforehand.
Yeah, so yeah, the Roughnecks are so Roughnecks are actually now part of Spirit, the OU Spirit official umbrella, which has like cheer, palm, mascots, and the Roughnecks. So and that was pretty recent, but yeah, they have a whole tryout process, interview, everything, and you have to do all these things. You have to be able to just demonstrate the qualities that they really want, and taking care of these ponies is something they all have to do. And they all go out on the land. It's a secret where the land is. It's supposed to be private, so nobody messes with the ponies or whatever.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's a huge deal to them.
Okay, excellent. You'll have to see that.
Maybe not as big as Ralphie's deal, but then again, that is like a humongous like 2-ton animal that is running, having 9 guys holding back. So that's
Yeah,
something different.
yeah. I could only see through the nose, so then I heard people like screaming at me. And I was like, I wonder what they could be screaming at me. And I turned and like, get the fuck out of the
Yeah,
way. And some
to
dude
get
had to tackle
trampled.
me because I saw a stampeding buffalo. I was standing right in front of the carriage, or like where they like lock them up after. I was like, oh my God, I was
It's
about to
so
die by
scary.
Ralphie. So I wonder
It's
if there's
honestly
that.
crazy that that still exists, like that they still do that. That's so crazy.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
they
it's cool,
told
awesome though.
and they told me this was the baby Ralphie. This is like Ralphie the sixth, the brand new and small, and still weighed like 2 tons.
Uh,
Oh, speaking of, I just got jump scared by fucking Pistol Pete
yeah.
over here. So what's the story behind this one?
Yeah, so these are the original Boomer and Sooner ponies. They were introduced right after they retired Top Dog in 2005. They introduced these ponies at the beginning of the football season. And when they brought them out for the first game, they got booed big time. Like the entire stadium was booing at them. They were ugly. They just didn't like him. They're like, what the hell is this? They were like, just keep Top Dog. And yeah, luckily they didn't keep with this look for too long. They also used to have red manes, which looked even scarier. This might be like actually the second rendition of them, but either way, it was not a good look, and I'm very glad I did not have to deal with one of those heads.
Yeah, the heads, it's kind of giving me like the Florida Gator vibe where it's kind of like
Hmm.
hard to see. It's like so far in the distance and the
Yeah,
slit is so small. That must be tough for visibility.
yeah,
How
it's
is the
already
vid
hard to see out of them, so I can't imagine even less
yeah.
visibility like that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how's Boomer's visibility in suit?
I'd give him like maybe a 5.
Hmm.
The 5, because I've done other mascots like Top Dog has a different head. He's a lot easier to see out of because the eyes are bigger. I mascotted for the Oklahoma City Dodgers baseball
Hmm.
team. They have a dog named Bricks, and his eyes are a lot easier to see out of because it's really close to your face, so it's almost just like glasses, like goggles. Um, and Boomer's is like the eyes are way high, so you can't when you're like when he's looking like that and normal Boomer, like you're looking at the sky. You can't really see
Hmm.
in front of you. And then you look out the mouth, you're looking at the people's feet in front of you. So you have to constantly be moving your head because you don't want to be like looking down or just like looking too like goofy or whatever. So it's pretty difficult. And not to mention the long snout bumping into things.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah, in terms of the worst visibility for suits, I gotta say the University of Arizona is probably the most
Mm.
tough because he just has the smallest mouth slit and he has two giant fangs covering it. So that's the
Yeah.
worst one. And the best visibility is, of course, the Oregon duck.
Yeah.
That guy gets everything.
Mhm.
So what about
Yes. So this is when we reintroduced Top Dog in 2020. They brought him back. Basketball, I think the reason was basketball wasn't doing too good. So athletic director Joe Castiglione was like, let's people have been wanting Top Dog to come back for a while. And it had been a rumor, and even we didn't know, the mascot team didn't know until like a month before he was like announced. And we had a new suit for him and everything, brought him out. and it was really fun. And this is actually Mr. OU. He's like our number one fan, biggest fan. He's pretty cool. So he does custodial services at the university, and he like will work overnight and then barely get any sleep and go to like every single game, every basketball game, every wrestling match, every softball, football. He'll try to go to away games. He'll try to do everything. He is the biggest fan, very, very dedicated to the university. So we love to give him some love when he's around. And yeah.
Did he make the custom made OU chain?
I think so. A lot of that stuff is either like custom or given to him. And like he has a new kit that's this like amazing and this like crazy looking every day. Like it's a totally different kit. He has like football gloves. He has one of those big hats, those new big caps that are a thing right now.
Oh
He's
yeah,
got one of
yeah.
those, and yeah, lots of cool looks from him.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are the this is the most recent Boomer and Sooner rendition. This is at the Red River rivalry, Red River, excuse me. I can never say that. That is the hardest
Red River
rivalry to
rivalry,
say.
Red River
Red River
rivalry.
rivalry. And this was actually that game that we were down. I think it was the game we were down 28 and had a comeback. Not 100% sure, but anyways, yeah, so this is the most recent Boomer and Sooner. We got Boomer in the blue eyes, usually wears home colors, and then Sooner with the brown eyes usually wears away colors. And that's them sporting the golden hat after
So,
beating Texas.
oh, and that yeah, it's like the trophy.
Yeah.
So, what's the dynamic between Boomer and Sooner? Is one like the older one, one's a more mischievous one, but what's the personality types of both mascots?
Yeah, they're we try to keep some differences with them. It can get a little tough sometimes, especially for like the younger members, because not only they're having to learn one character, they're having to learn very subtle different other character, you know.
Mhm.
But what we have traditionally tried to do is so they're twins, and they're pretty much identical. I guess you could say Boomer is kind of like the older twin, the one that came out a few minutes earlier, you know. So he's a little bit more confident. He's a little bit more sporty, so he's more like he can do with all the tumbling and everything. He's got a little bit more confidence to him, and then Sooner's a little bit more, I guess, yeah, like mischievous, a little bit cuter, more personable, and more of a dancer too. So a little bit more fun-loving of the two. But then then there's countless similarities between them as well.
Yeah, you love to see it. You love to
Yeah.
see it. So more tumbling. What sort of tumbling do you guys do in suit?
Yeah. So this isn't like a requirement for any of the team we get on, but um sometimes we'll stunt with cheer. So we go to cheer practices sometimes, and we'll do like group stunts, or even sometimes trying to learn some partner stunts. But that we try not to do that. It's a little bit risky, especially with the big head
Mm.
getting in the way. But um, it's a way for us to connect with the other spirit teams. We're very connected with all the other spirit teams, like dance, the Palm team, the Roughnecks, and it's like one huge family. So yeah, we do some tumbling practices, and sometimes he'll do some flips. Traditionally he had done flips on the wall right in front of the bleachers in the stadium. I don't know if anyone recently has done that, because we used to have some really killer like ex gymnast mascots on the team. But yeah, maybe doing some passes, tumbling passes, or anything like that. And plus Boomer's the one we send to nationals, so we submit
Hmm.
a video, nationals video entry. So we want to pull out all the stops. Usually we do it with Boomer just for that sake, for like competitive reasons. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like pretty much like the same thing we did. We kind of talk about. We want to do stunts, but it's not like a requirement for the younger guys.
Yeah.
I want to ask about the audition process a little bit because it's always different for each school. But I want to get through. I only have a few more of these left.
Mhm.
So right here.
Yeah, so big story with this one. So that's my friend Taylor. He was actually also a mascot. He was the captain the year I joined the team. And a couple years in, so I was only with him for a semester, and then a couple years later he went to Japan to mascot for a baseball team over there, and he was actually following another OU mascot that had gone previously. So both of them were there together, and then Taylor was the one that stayed. And he's a tattoo artist, so he's big on tattoos and stuff. And So I had always wanted a mascot tattoo. You know, it's big tradition to get something related to your character. And
Oh
I'd always
yeah.
had this idea, something about horseshoes. They're ponies. You know, I want something about horseshoes, and I want it near my feet because you know it's horseshoes, right? So I went to Japan with my dad, and uh, we decided, he kind of convinced me, and we decided to just do a tattoo. We came up with a design and we got it tatted. So it's in the OU stack pattern. So kind of how the logo is laid out, the O interlacing the U.
Oh,
But it's two
nice.
horseshoes, and it's the colors blue and brown for Boomer and Sooner's eyes. So really cool story. And it's my first tattoo as well. So I was admittedly, after I got it, I was like, why did I do that? Like I hate it. Like this is stupid. Why would I was never committed enough to get any tattoo. But now like I absolutely love it. I'm glad I got it. And I love the story attached to it as well.
That's literally an inspiration for me because all the Bennies want to get the ass tattoos of like the
Yeah.
retro hat with the sailor hat.
Mhm.
They saw
Mhm.
the Chip the Buffaloes get the Chip tattoo and they're like, dude, we need to get a tattoo. So that's another thing. Is like a lot of mascots get the tattoo somewhere on their body. And I haven't gotten a
Yeah.
tattoo yet because I haven't like gotten one and I kind of like only half committed. But that's
Mhm.
like inspiration for me to like, I'll know like in like a month I'll be like, God damn it, why did I do this?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then like more and more as it goes on.
Definitely.
Oh, dude, this video is so fucking funny. Oh my God. So I'm gonna put this on repeat and I'll see if I can turn the volume up. I don't know if it'll hear it, but this video,
Okay.
uh actually I ran the Oregon State Barstool account. I ran the Barstool Bees. So I followed Barstool OU and I swear I saw them post this video
They did. They definitely
at one
did.
point. So
Hit a trick. Hey! Oh shit. You okay, dude?
so I'll just let that loop. But he's
Yeah.
definitely
So,
that's the more mischievous one too, right? So that's in
oh
character
yes.
technically.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So me and another mascot were out on the town doing actually a commercial or something, like video commercial for these new scooters that were coming in. You know, it's like one of those Lime bird brands, whatever. And so they wanted us to ride around, and they would kind of drive, follow us, get some videos. So we were just kind of having fun going around. And I was scooting. Boomer was scooting. Sooner was behind me, and I don't even remember this guy. Right, I just passed him, and we were passing a couple people, and then I don't hear anything. Like we're just scooting, and we finish up with the commercial. We are heading back, changing out a suit, and my teammate goes, "Yo, I just like fell off my scooter and hit the wall or something." And I was like, "Oh, what? Haha, that's crazy. I didn't even see that." And that was it. And then I it was either later that day or the next day. Yeah, later that day, I'm on Twitter, and I see Overtime, the official Overtime Twitter account, post this video, and I'm like, no way. I watch it. I'm cracking up, and I'm like, is this bad? Like, what's gonna happen? Are we gonna get in trouble? Like, I don't know. And yeah, it was just so funny. It was being posted everywhere, all the Barstool, you know, old row accounts and everything. And I had no idea it was nearly that bad. Like, I didn't know that happened at all. But yeah, really funny.
I think it's just so comedically perfectly framed. It's just
Yeah.
like the first guy goes, is like, hit a trick. So I gotta watch
Yeah.
it one more time. Hey.
Smacks it right on the head, right on the parking meter, and he was fine. I mean, those heads are pretty soft.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's the worst injury you've gotten in suit as Boomer?
um. Oh man. I was shooting a commercial for in Oklahoma. We have Bob Mills Sleep Spa. So this guy Bob Mills, he owns these furniture stores, and he has this one furniture store that has just beds, right? Like a nice
Mhm.
bed store, whatever. So they had me there. I was alone, and they just wanted Boomer in this commercial for whatever reason. And he's there. I've only seen him on TV, so it was really cool that I got to see him. He's kind of like a local celebrity a little bit, and we're shooting some commercial, like some scenes, whatever. And there's kind of a lull, and they're asking if there's anything like else, you know, maybe a cool trick I could do. And I was like, I had been practicing some backflips at the you know, with the cheer team tumbling at the gym. So I was like, okay, let me try a backflip. I was like, so I kind of whispered to one of them. I was like, let me try a backflip. And they're like, okay, you can do it. And I was like, yeah, let me do one to warm up first. And they're like, okay. So I go, I set, I do my thing. Mind you, I've never successfully done a backflip in my life. I go, I jump, I try, I throw my legs over, I land right on the back of my head, and they're like, I scorpion, like I pretty much scorpion, and I just hear, oh, and they're like, are you okay? They grab me, they give me some water, they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It didn't hurt in the moment. I had a little bit of adrenaline in me, but when I got home that day and the next day, I was so sore. I was like, I probably sprained like a spinal muscle or something, but yeah, so that was dumb. I have no idea why I did that.
Yeah, the worst injury I think I've sustained, I've just had a few. Once was like I just recently shaved, so I had a little bit of stubble right there. And like you have a chin strap. Ours is really
Yeah.
bad. So I did an entire Washington football game and it was rubbing back and forth. I guess the friction was so bad that I pulled it off and like my stubble was like falling out. I had like a shave spot right there and it was bloody and sweaty.
Holy shit.
That wasn't like the worst like physical painful injury, but that was probably like the one that takes the cake for like the most just like
Yeah.
gutturally and disgusting.
Uh,
Ugh.
I'd lost an earring one time in the mascot suit.
Oh, really? I want to
Yeah.
hear about that. Oh, sorry to bring this up, but I actually want to hear the earring story first. How'd you lose an earring? Don't tell me, please don't tell me you like pulled out.
No, it was like, so it was a stud, so I had a post and a back, kind of like this, right? And it was just really small. Actually, it might have been like I had just got my ears pierced, so it might have been one of those like first earrings. So it was really tiny, whatever. But I guess I don't know, put the head on and we did super quick. I wasn't even moving around. I was sitting in a chair and we were doing some ESPN Zoom. We called in ESPN on Zoom, and that was it. Like I wasn't even walking around or anything. I was in my friend's apartment, one of the teammates' apartment, and I take the head off. I realize one of my earrings missing. I'm like, oh shit. And I look and I find like one half of it. The other half, I looked everywhere in the head. I looked in her couch and everything, and I just could not find it. So I chalked it up as a loss. Yeah.
So sorry to bring this up, but when I was watching the president of a fraternity, he's from Kansas and he's a huge K-State fan.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
believe this happened at the K-State game. So we were watching that and we're like, oh man, that's not a good omen. I don't want to get accidents happen. I
Yeah.
get it. I understand. What happened after the fact here? Like, what's the story like after what happened here?
Yeah. So I was on the sideline. I was out of suit, and this was I don't want to tell too much about
Mm-hmm.
everything, but so yeah, it happened. Everyone was fine, but it was kind of a shock. Like the band stopped playing, it just went dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like, some of us ran out to them. I ran up and I helped the girl right there that fell. And the whole cheer guys and roughnecks, they all carried the wagon away and took control of the ponies and everything. The turf was dug up and it was just like horrible, but um it turned out to be everyone was fine,
Oh,
luckily.
thank God.
There was a some camera guy, Fox camera guy in the back that destroyed their camera, like $20,000 nice, TV camera. But yeah, it was scary. Like I had no idea what was going on, and it was just really weird. And refs gave a little bit extra timeout, but it was still like we had to rush to clean everything. There was just stuff littered everywhere. Cleaned it all up, got it all out, and there was no wagon, there was no schooner for the rest of that season. But they got a new one built. It had wider tracks, so that's less likely to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And they debuted it at the spring game following that season. And that's not the first time actually that the schooner has tipped. I can't remember exactly when, but it was against Miami. I don't know if it was against Miami, but what I should have said is the bottom of the schooner said Miami sucks. And that was like an inside thing, an inside joke with the Roughnecks. And so it tipped, and everyone saw that and they got reprimanded for it. And I think they got in big trouble. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was not a good look for them. So then they built, I guess what that one was, is the same schooner. And so eventually that one tipped.
So that they would like spray paint or they'd write like whoever they're facing, this school sucks. So the
Yeah.
sooner tipped over and then everyone realized like, wait, what the hell is this? Did Oklahoma go on to win that game at least?
um it's Kansas State, so probably not. They
Oh,
have some magic juju
oh,
against us, but
oh,
I
wait.
really don't remember. Honestly, that was like the biggest talking point of that game.
Wait, did
So
it say Kansas State sucks or Miami?
now
Which one was the they suck, or do they still do it every year?
this one didn't say anything on it. The Miami sucks was the previous time, like in the
Mhm.
20, 30 years ago or something. I don't think it said anything on this one, luckily.
That's pretty. That's just a tough scene having the senior tip over and say Miami sucks. But you know what? I guess there's a silver lining to it.
Yeah.
This one, I have to ask you a question. Why is every mascot named Pete fucking horrifying?
I agree. I don't know. Like it doesn't even look cartoony. It just looks like creepy. It's like a nightmare. Like when you have one of those uncanny nightmares of like not real faces. I don't know. I try not to think too much about it, and I kind of have that thing where you don't recognize faces. You try to like block it out, and it just looks like shapes. That's kind of what I get from these guys.
So, which one do you think is scarier, Pistol Pete or Purdue Pete?
I think Purdue Pete because he looks a little bit more psychotic, like he's about to murder you. Like, look at those eyes. He's
He's
not even
on.
looking at the same direction. I mean,
I'd say like Purdue Pete. He kind of looks like he's on downers, and it looks like or not, Pistol Pete looks like he's on downers, and like
yeah,
Purdue
yeah.
Pete looks like he's like on bath salts.
Oh yeah, dude,
He's
he's
about
ready
ready
to eat someone's
rip
face.
rip your fucking hair out.
Yeah.
So this one, I did a deep dive. I did I did some quick research. Let's just
Oh
watch this
yeah.
video really quick. So my first question of all of this is あのね、日本語を喋りますか?
Oh, whoa, awesome. I don't know any,
Oh,
sadly.
okay.
Yeah.
I literally just asked you to speak Japanese because you're talking about
Uh,
Japanese baseball. The Oklahoma mascot was on
yeah,
Japanese television.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what is the story behind this?
Kind of just luck. So you could see I'm with my dad, who I went to Japan with, and then I'm with Taylor, my mascot buddy. So he was coming to Tokyo. He lives in Hiroshima. And he and his like fiance girlfriend were coming to Tokyo, and he was going to surprise her by proposing. So he was like, "Hey, we're gonna rent kimonos. We're gonna just like walk around Sensuji, and I'm gonna surprise her with proposing to her, and we're just gonna have some fun." I'm like, okay. I was like, "Can my dad come?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." And so we do our thing. We ride some rickshaws, take some pictures, have some fun. Go to a temple. They put up like a couple thing on one of the trees or whatever. Do some traditional. His fiance is Japanese as well. Also, she's from Fukuoka, so
Nice.
pretty cool. But we're done. We're at the end. We're about to go walk back to the kimono shop and trade our rentals in. And these two guys come up to us, a little bit younger, probably about my age, or younger, and one has a camera and one has like kind of a microphone and like an iPhone recorder setup. And they're talking. I don't know what they're saying. And then Taylor, he's fluent. He starts conversing with them, and he's like, they just want to ask us about. They're from the local news. They want to ask us about. They're doing a piece on how local wages haven't increased, or like in Japan, wages haven't increased much, and like people working the same job for 20 years. So they're asking foreigners about what it's like in their country, and so just tell them where you're from and this and that. They had some questions prompted, and we just answered our best we could. And they're like, okay, we might show it tomorrow morning 7 a.m on the news. And we were like, okay. We were like, what channel? And they told us, and it was like the biggest news channel in Japan. Oh wow. So me and my dad get up at 7 a.m. We get our iPhones out, we're recording. Eventually, like, it's grueling. We're waiting like 10-20 minutes. It's going through different pieces. Eventually they get to something like, I think this could be what we're in. I don't know. I don't understand what's happening. And then they get to the people interviewing, and I'm like, yeah, we were there. And then they get to us, and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. They get my dad and me. They get subtitles. They get voiceovers. They get a Japanese dub, and it was so cool. Very cool experience. And Honestly, I was wanting to. I was like, before I was going, I was like, I've heard when you go to Japan, they look for foreigners and they just like interview them and put them on TV. And I was like, that'd be so cool if that happened. And it freaking did. I was like, that's so cool. But yeah, one of my favorite moments. And I'm in a kimono and everything. And
Boomer gets his own anime appearance on Japanese national television.
that would be amazing.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the other boomers was in Japan. Like I said, I speak Japanese. I'm definitely well, I'm like I took they offered it in high school and I studied for 4 years.
Wow.
I took AP. So what sort of Japan stories do you have? What's your best Japan story? Because I know going to Japan as American is fucking crazy. So what's your best story you
It's
have from there?
it's ridiculous, man. I have so many stories I don't even know where to start. But one thing I do want to start with is before I even left. So I had this trip planned for a couple months out. So my dad was going. He is the Team USA field hockey men's like silver or like Masters League head coach. So he's like
Really?
the head coach for this field hockey team, and they had a World Cup in um they had one in South Africa he played in. I couldn't go to that. And then they had one in Tokyo that he was for the team he was coaching. So he was like, "Do you want to go? I can get you a visa. Like we can they're going to pay for the hotel." And I was like, "Okay, yes." No second thoughts. So I had this planned out and then not too long after I had talked to the current Boomer team captain asking about one of the like there was a game coming up the next weekend. I was like, can you help me get on the field or something? Like I want to take a pick or something. And he wasn't able to help me out, but he was like, "Hey, we have a homecoming game this day. I would love for you to get in suit." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And then I look at the date, and that's the date I'm flying to LA to then the next morning fly to Tokyo. And I was like, "Oh crap! Like, what do I do now?" So because of the airline I got to the international flight, I could not change that flight. I couldn't get a refund for that flight. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move it at all. So I was not about to miss out on all that money and get a different flight. So what I was able to do was switch my flight from Oklahoma to LA. And the only thing that could work out for me to go to the game in Mascot and then fly to LA was if I drove down to Dallas that night and then at 6 a.m. flew to LA so that I could make my 1 p.m. flight to Tokyo. So just very messy, but I really wanted to do both. So I was like, I'm going to do both. I hit up a good friend I could trust to take me down. He lives in Dallas. I was like, "Hey, you want to come up for this game and then drive me down to Dallas that night?" And he was like, no, he didn't even think it twice. He was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I was like, "Yes, thank you." So it gets closer to that day. And then I reach out to the Mascot captain to, get some more details and get it solid. Like, "Hey, we're good to go." And then he informs me, he was like, "Hey, I'm really sorry to say, but like our coordinator won't let any alumni get in suit." And this is the first time it's ever happened besides COVID. And I was like, "What?" And I was pissed. And so we decided to just sneak myself into the suit and not tell him. And so I get to the stadium. He lets me in. We try to avoid the coordinator all day. I get in, he and I get in suit for him for the captain. He let me take his his time slot. I do some of the stuff I need to do. I have a blast. It was really fun. And then I change out of suit. And then the coordinator sees me a few times on the sideline. And it's not uncommon to see some alumni on the sideline sometimes, but he was like, he knew what was going on.
You're just drenched in sweat and you
Yeah,
look
yeah.
really
And I
red. He's
was
like,
I was the troublemaker when I was my 4 years, so he knew. And he asked the captain. He was like, "Was Cameron in suit?" And he was like, "Yeah, he was." And he was pissed at him and all this stuff. He wasn't even mad at me. He was more mad at the captain for telling me I could do this. But
mm.
everything sorted out and everything was fine. I got to get in suit. My friend drove me down. I fly to LA. I'm tired. I'm annoyed. I go to check in to get my ticket to fly to Tokyo, and I realize I left my passport in Oklahoma.
Oh,
So just like because of the rush, because of everything that was going on, I had to prepare for so much. I was trying to do the game. I forgot the most important thing I needed was my freaking passport. So I ended up missing that flight anyways, lost the money because I can't change it. So I had to fly different airlines and spend a little bit more. My mom overnighted my passport. So I had to wait a few days because it was like a weekend. But I
Oh,
had a friend there. I got to stay in LA a little bit and visit. I had a friend there who used to be on the Palm team. We hung out a day. So and in the end, it turned out pretty cool. And I still got to be in Japan for like 3.5 weeks. So I didn't miss out on that much time, but it was just so stressful and really set me up for a bad time. But I mean, everything worked out in the end, I guess.
so you said you're the troublemaker mascot. And as one troublemaker mascot to the other, what sort of things besides the entire fantastic story you just told, what other things can you now say that you've instigated?
There's a story I really want to tell, and I don't know if it's going to ban me from any affiliation with the mascot. So I might just tell you that in private.
Yeah, you can
Um,
do it after, but
yeah, I really wish I could tell this, but
it's
sometimes
so
it's like, man, is it worth like I got this great idea. I would for sure get kicked off the team, but it would be legendary. It'd be such a story to tell. And it's like you gotta weigh it, man. There were some times like that for sure. That's amazing though. That's so funny.
yeah, it's definitely hard trying to pick because I mean that's the
Yeah,
thing with
yeah.
being a mascot is you've got so many stories you can tell your friends, and but then
Yeah.
there's like some public stuff because like just in case the university hears out, just for the record,
Mhm.
we're good kids.
I I did have a nasty habit of running over people's feet in our gator. So not on purpose, definitely not on purpose. So a couple years in, we convinced the marketing department to get us a gator, like one of those John Deere
Mm.
little 4x4s, to carry Boomer around because when you're walking like on game days
Oh
um,
yeah.
outside the stadium, it's impossible to get around without being hounded. You got to run, like you literally have to run. So what we did was we convinced him to get this gator. It's wrapped in Boomer Sooner gear. It's got the
Mhm.
Mascot on. It looks so sick. I should have got a picture of that. And so we were all kind of like trained on how to drive it. And there was a time I was driving it and I was going through like the busiest part of the stadium, right in front of the stadium, and there were some cheerleaders like with their parents for whatever reason, we're just kind of hanging out, and it's so cramped and crowded, and I'm driving through this crowd that I'm like going real slow, and there's one of the dads is right in front of me to the right, and I'm trying to go. He's like trying to scoot back to give me room, and I kind of go up a little bit, and I'm like, and I'm like, what's going on? I stop. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? He's like, no, go, go. And he's just like, oh, and I'm on his foot. And I felt so bad. And I just drove and I drove off. And that was it. And I was like, I felt so bad. And that wasn't even the only time. The other time was um I was going from the stadium to another place, and again, it's super crowded, super busy, and it's really hard to maneuver with all the barriers that like the police set up around the stadium, right? In this big gator. So I'm going. We have these huge concrete trash cans, and there's this guy who there's a couple of these guys that will roam around the games that like have shopping carts full of junk and whatever. And he was hanging out near the trash can thing, and he was kind of in my way, so I did what I could, and it was on the far side. Again, I couldn't see very well, and I ended up pushing this whole trash can. Or no, I pinned the guy. I pinned him between the shopping cart and the trash can, and he kind of gets bumped, and I'm out of suit in both instances. And there's even a video of me doing this. I'll send you the video, and you can add this in post or something. But he looks at me, or I look at him, and I just look at the camera. And I'm like, I don't know. I just drive off. And it was so funny. And I did feel bad, but he was fine. It's all good.
Yeah, that's another weird thing I've seen mascots do. I was talking to the University of Arizona mascot where like he had a suit up and like he was in Kazakhstan for a university and he was like driving a car and he's like, this is super illegal.
Yeah.
I've been in the car with like Swoop, like the Utah mascot in
Mhm.
Salt Lake City, and that dude just straight up just like is driving a car.
What?
And I was sitting there and soon like this is not legal.
Yeah,
We
that's
should
scary.
not be doing this. So I don't know why they keep on allowing mascots to drive
They should
vehicles
not.
because it just ends up fucking chaotic.
It's always a bad idea. I don't care what it is. It's a bad idea.
So it's like you're saying, like all schools. I can imagine Oklahoma, Norman is absolutely packed for every single game day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Norman is the definition of a college town.
Mhm.
I live nearby, so I've always been kind of around it. And during the summer, even during winter break, it's dead. It is completely dead. It's like
Mhm.
a totally different place. And then especially during game days. During game days, it's like you can't even drive. It takes an extra like twice as long to get anywhere around the town. It's not set up for 100 to 200,000 people to visit the city. So it can be a pain. Parking, of course, is horrible. But yeah, it's a totally different atmosphere.
So all because Oregon State Corvallis is also a college town. It's deserted. What was Norman like during COVID? What's a college town like Norman like during COVID? Like right when it
Oh
hit,
man.
just completely deserted, ghost town, right?
Yes, I lived in a house in very nearby. Me and my friend, one of the teammates, we were renting a house, and it was crazy. There was not a single car on the road. Everyone was home, and it was like if summer's dead, it's like half of that. It was remarkable, honestly,
Mhm.
how barren it was. Ghost town for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, Corvallis had the same thing, and then the West Coast has a nasty habit of catching on fire. So I took this photo of Corvallis. I'll put it up in post. It's just like you're driving, and I don't know if you saw in the news, like the state of Oregon was on fire and the sky was
Yeah,
red.
yeah.
So it was like red and smoky out, and it was like this like Stephen King like haze in the background.
Yeah, like in
And this
hell.
giant banner said, "Friendly reminder to put on and wear your masks." At that point, I literally thought the world was ending.
Yeah, that's like a apocalypse movie.
Yeah, and like
Damn.
that spring game too, when it was still kind of like mask up, it was kind of on like the half. They asked Benny to wear a mask to cover the nose, like, well, we can't do that, we can't see. And then they asked me to put on a mask in suit, which lasted all of like 6 seconds because
Yeah.
you know how sweaty it gets in that thing. So I like reached in, grabbed it, and
For
pulled it off.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, they we made a big mask for Boomer and Sooner, and it was okay. And I don't think they ever asked us to wear it in suit because they considered there had to be a mask in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But it probably didn't do anything.
So another thing when I think of University of Oklahoma, I think about how many quarterbacks they have every year that are just winning the
Yeah.
Heisman. Have you had any interactions with I don't you said you just graduated. I don't know how old if you might have seen Jalen Hurts or Baker Mayfield. What
Yeah.
did you get to interact with any like NFL quarterbacks at any time?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, like the OU ones, so Jason White is actually a friend of my dad's. He's known him. My dad knew him since he was in college, because my dad cleans carpet, and so he had used to clean his carpet. We live in the same town now, Tuttle, which is where Jason went to high school and everything. So we have some ties with him. And then while I was at the university, I was freshman sophomore when Baker was playing, but I got to interact with him a bit, and I like to say he remembered who I was because I was the mascot. And if I saw him like out at the bar or something, I'd go up and spark a conversation with him. And it's a quick funny story about him. So one of the older mascots was at the Kansas game
Oh,
where,
when he grabbed his
yeah,
nuts? That
yes,
was
that
awesome.
game. So at that game, he ran in a touchdown, and I guess he chest bumped Boomer, maybe hit him hurt a little too hard. She fell and got a concussion. And so that was kind of scary. And then a couple like months later, I think she was graduating, and she saw him at Logie's, at like the big bar on campus, and went up to him, told him about what happened, and he was like apologizing. He bought her a shot and everything. But it's so funny. She was like proud of it. I mean, yeah, that's a cool story, honestly. The best way to get a concussion as a mascot, I guess.
Dude, that I am a Baker Mayfield sympathizer as long as I'll live. My friend's a Rams fan. They got Baker
Okay.
Mayfield, and I'm like,
Yeah.
watch this, dude. He's gonna
Yeah.
ball out. He's not on the Browns or the Panthers. He's on an actual team. And then we were watching that Raiders game together, and he's like, I told you, I love Baker.
Yeah.
I really do like Baker Mayfield. I
Yeah.
think he's kind of like better Johnny Manziel. I mean, Johnny Manziel was just like this like this one end. I feel like Baker Mayfield is
Yeah,
like the more in control version of that. Him
I agree.
waving the flag at Ohio State and like planting in the ground. Did you know the boomer during that game? Was there one at that?
Yeah, there was. I wish I remembered who it was,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, yeah. So go ahead.
Speaking of which, I also wanted to talk about the audition process a
Yeah,
little bit. For us, we just kind of we get a bunch of people. We put up flyers. I'd put it on the Barstool Beeves page, like, yo, we want Bennies.
nice.
That's another thing I had to like deal with marketing. They knew I was Barstool Beeves, and,
Yeah,
and like they knew I was a Barstool account and the mascot, but they knew like, okay, the mascot kind of knows like what's good and not good to do. So,
yeah,
and like I would like really get students in the stands. I'd like create these like edits and stuff. So like we're just gonna pretend like we don't know, even though that
yeah.
could have gotten me in real bad trouble. But so we post that, we get a bunch of students to come up and we kind of do like different tiers of like dancing them. They like put on the suit. So what was the process of recruitment for new Sooner mascots?
So honestly, it for one reason or another, it changes a little bit every year.
Mm-hmm.
But my year when I tried out, I got a mass email, and honestly, that's probably our biggest way we get people is just utilizing the mass email system. Sent it out to everyone. I was a sophomore. My freshman year, I wanted to try out for the Roughnecks. I thought it was like that'd be kind of cool. But I was so busy. I was in ROTC my freshman year, and I was in an engineering major and new to college and everything. So it was a lot for me. I didn't make it to trying out or anything. But then the second year, I got an email about the mascots, and I was like, okay, that seems pretty cool. I'll go to they had an info session they were doing. Come show up and we'll show this video and answer questions. I went to that. Seemed fun. I was like, okay, this looks cool. I think I might like this. So then they had us send in some paperwork like a resume, letter of recommendation, and then they selected us to come try out in suit. And it's the first time I've ever been in any mascot suit or done anything. I was like a little nervous, but I was like, this is gonna be cool. Maybe I'll be good at it. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe they'll like me. We tried out in pairs, Boomer and Sooner at a time. I think I was Boomer, and we go out. So we go in the locker room, we change, we come out to the gym. There's like five of them sitting there, American Idol style. And
Oh yeah, yeah. The panel.
yeah, yeah. And they ask us like to do some, they try to trick us. They're like, so what's your name? Where are you from? They try to get us to talk to break character. So I had
Oh.
knew this beforehand. I think I had met one of the mascots who I ended up living with. I met him at a party or something right before I tried out. So they try to trick us. They ask us to do some like charades or like do these emotions at different intensities or responding to in-game situations and all that kind of stuff, and then dancing to music and all that good stuff. So that was pretty much it. It lasted a little bit, but then they sent us back, and then they selected some of us to come and interview with the coordinator. So he oversees all the spirit teams, and some of the captains were in that interview as well. So it was pretty intimidating. It was 1-on-4,
Mhm.
very intimidating, and did the interview. Apparently they liked me, and I got it. And also the guy I tried out with got it as well. And then our last years at OU, we were both co-captains. So
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I got recruited in 2019 and I was like one of the youngest ones. And then suddenly COVID hit. And then suddenly I found myself at the very top and being
Yeah.
the one having to recruit. And it's pretty easy to get back into character because like once you put on the head, I was talking about this with one of the other mascots. It's kind of a surreal experience when you put on a head and you're talking to or you're interacting with someone and they're looking back at someone completely different.
Yeah.
And just being in the suit in and of itself is such a weird experience. So I guess another question is, what does it mean to be the Boomer mascot? I guess that's kind of a big question. I don't really know how to like phrase that better, but like what makes Oklahoma and the spirit kind of different from other schools? Like the atmosphere, the college town, the fans, the history, tradition. What makes it overarching like different?
I think Oklahoma is a blue blood football school, and of course, football is the biggest thing about the University of Oklahoma on a national standpoint. And when we're Boomer, we're not even the official mascot, right? We're just the official, unofficial, or the official costume, however you want to say it. We still are official in some capacity. You know, we're under marketing. We represent the university, and so there's a lot of often strong feelings for anyone that follows, you know, college football or other sports. You know, we're good at softball and everything else, and have some good academics as well, medically. So there's a lot of like, people understand a lot about the university. So when they even just see that OU or the Sooners on our jersey when we walk in, they already have like an impression. They have these ideas, and so it's a lot about representing that that I don't want to say like power, but just that status, I guess, for the
I,
university.
I like the
But
term.
being
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was about to say I like the term loved, hated, but never ignored.
Yes,
Okay.
very fitting. But at the same, so it's representing that, but at the same time being the down to earth, real, personable part of the university, you know, because like that's what mascots are for anyone, is connecting to the kids, connecting to as the fun loving, personable, comes up to you, hugs you, playful creature that is all things good about the school. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's faceless basically. So that's what's great about any mascot, but you know, representing for the University of Oklahoma. And so traveling places, getting to just bring an extension of OU. You know, Oklahoma is nothing. Oklahoma is tiny. We're known for tornadoes, and like that's it. You know, Oklahoma City's small. I'm a Native Americans too. That's a big cultural thing for us too, and that's a whole nother story. Of people wanting to change Boomer Sooner to, or like the Sooners, they want to change the mascot name and everything because of that, the
Mhm.
ties to that. So yeah, I mean, that might not answer your question fully, but it is a lot. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's
sorry, definitely what you mean. Actually, no, I interrupted you. I'm sorry about that.
No, go ahead. You're helping
Um,
me.
so yeah, definitely in terms of like what we've been talking about, football, basketball, and like all that. That's what everyone kind of expects, but there's a lot of it that's more down to earth, you know, interacting
Yeah,
with the kids. Cause like you don't like you interact with them for like 8 seconds and then you gotta go do something else. But that kid's always gonna remember you for like the rest of his life. He's gonna have that photo of me in this mascot, and just like the influence you can have on like kids and like the community at large is kind of one of the biggest reasons. I originally kind of came into it because I'm like, oh, this will be a flex and I got to go to football games. But as
yeah,
I stayed along with it more and more, I kind of got to realize like the influence of the community
yeah.
aspect of it, which is all
That
that always meant so much to me.
Definitely. I feel the same way, dude. I joined the team and I was like, oh, this is cool. It says I get gear, I get Nike gear, I get to travel to LA, New York, like I get to be on the sidelines and behind the scenes for everything. And I was like, yeah, that seems really cool. Like I saw it as like a status piece, like something to boost my ego and help me belong, which isn't so bad. But I really got to learn what being a mascot is all about. And then especially like when I'm doing appearances, people always think in Oklahoma and the surrounding areas, I'm sure people always think of Oklahoma as like assholes because they're so good. They're blue bloods. They win every game. They got Heisman winners. They're good at, you know, all these sports and whatever and it's so concentrated in such a small state that doesn't have a lot much else going on. And so there's a level of arrogance that follows, a cloud of arrogance that follows the name. So it's nice to kind of be the one that breaks that, you know, because like who's going to be mean to a mascot? Like
Yeah.
there are going to be people, but not so much. Like it helps you see another side of the university. It's like, oh, it's not all like big burly football players that are, you know, don't give a shit and just go to the NFL. Like it's more than that. So
Yeah, so it's like a fan might see like I mean I think it's funny, but some people in Kansas might see like Baker Mayfield grabbing his junk at people. But shit, where was it going? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So someone might see that, but in terms of like that's like the representation of maybe the university or Oklahoma, just they destroy the Oregon Ducks in their bowl game, and that's a representation of these guys like flexing on it. But in terms, it's a lot deeper than that. It's an entire college institution, and a lot of people might forget that. And so being like a representative of like going to and interacting with people one-on-one kind of shows that it's a lot deeper. And yes, we love the athletes, and that's like some of our favorite parts about all of this. But it's in terms of more, that's a community. There's like people in like the business college, the agricultural college, medical college, all doing their own advancements for the betterment of like Oklahoma community, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's plenty of people I met when I was in college that did not give a single shit about football. I did not go to any games, and just hardly cared. I didn't go to many games my freshman year. I went to one or two,
Mhm.
and I wasn't super big on football in general or sports, and actually being a mascot is what really got me into almost all sports,
Oh,
at
same.
least related to university, but especially like football and everything. So yeah.
That's honestly like I could end there, but I have a few more questions that I just
Love it.
think
Let's keep it going.
I kind of want to like, how do I phrase this? I know like some people are going to want to hear about this, but also I just want to hear about this is because
Yeah.
I'm doing this with Daniel. I'm going to point, I think his name is right.
Yeah.
I'm doing this with Daniel, and I met him at our Pac-12 championship game. That they host that every year in Las Vegas. Which, by the way, having your championship game and paying you 4 nights in a row during Dead Week in Las Vegas is the absolute best.
Yeah, I'm
Holy,
jealous.
holy shit! Where do you guys have it? You guys have it in Dallas
Dallas, yeah.
in the Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah.
I might ask a few stories about that, but so he goes to USC, right?
Mhm.
And the whole USC Oklahoma thing, I'm on Twitter. I see it a lot. Lincoln Riley, SEC expansion. There's a lot happening with OU athletics right now. So I guess we'll start off with
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley.
Mhm.
What do we think?
Man, so I did Big 12 Media Days a few years ago, 2019. And that's where I'm sure you guys have a similar thing where all the teams come and it's usually like the head coach
Mhm.
and two or three players like captains, and then two cheerleaders and the mascot. So
Mhm.
they bring that for every Big 12 team. They all go to the Cowboy Stadium or their practice stadium in Arlington, Texas. And so Lincoln Riley was there, and I didn't get to meet him out of suit, but I was in suit. We took some pictures, we kind of hung out, we were all around each other, and he was nice. Any interaction I've had with him, he's nice. He was receptive, and involved and engaged, and didn't like disregard us like other coaches,
Mhm.
or some other people would. And it was very surprising to hear about him, about all this happening. Like there were rumors about him leaving, and then the way he left and everything, it was just a little extra salty, especially with him imploding our program and dismantling it by taking all the coaching staff. I even personally knew people that went to USC that were just employees, not even like coaches. He took everyone, and like some of our best players, like four of our best players, including our star quarterback who just won the Heisman. And yeah, it was really interesting. And so now like the hate for him runs deep in Oklahoma. Like it is like, it's very similar to when Kevin Durant left the Oklahoma City Thunder to go to Golden State after they beat us, coming back from a
Mhm.
3-1 lead at the NBA playoffs, and whenever that was, 16, I don't even remember. There was a lot of hate for him too, and it's a very similar thing. And this seems to happen to us a lot, where some of our favorite sports icons just completely up and leave and go for like a rival, or just like some other team that has some blood on us or something. So because I know they beat us in 2005 national championship,
Mhm.
USC did. So I mean, that's a long time ago. I don't think anyone really has any grudges
Yeah.
held on to that, but yeah.
It seems like people that are in people, that's another thing. Like I'll shit on the Ducks because I hate the Ducks, but if you're born in Oregon and like you were in Eugene, Oregon, watching a Ducks game, I'll give you like, okay, you're a real Ducks fan. So I feel like a lot of people in Norman, Oklahoma are Sooners until they die. So
Yeah.
I'm talking about people in Oklahoma, when they watch someone leave for Los Angeles, and as someone from California, I know fucking big LA, like, oh, USC.
Right.
That must just be kind of a punch in the gut. Like, why are you leaving us? Why are you not just leaving us? Because if you want to respectfully leave, that's one thing, but you're kind of taking a lot of these players from the program.
Mhm.
So, like, while Lincoln, as a person, probably have the utmost respect for. He's a nice guy. He's
Yeah.
very professional.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just kind of like these actions to kind of build your program, it seems kind of not in the best interest of
That's
like the family
sketchy.
you just were in.
Yeah, not very tactful move on his part. And I mean, hey, I understand. Like, I would
Mhm.
much rather be in LA and make more than be in Oklahoma. And then people have all sorts of theories. Like, it's because we're going to the SEC that he went to go to the Pac-12 because
Uh,
he conquered the Big 12 by winning 4 in a row or whatever, 4 out of 5 Big 12s, and so now he wants to go to the Pac-12 and whatever. There's theories. I mean, they're not even staying in the Pac-12 anymore, so
yeah.
I don't know. You can say what you will, but
Now the
uh,
frogs are taking over the Big 12.
yeah, they really are, dude. I'm happy to see it, but I'm wondering if it's going to be a la LSU
Oh,
2019.
it definitely will be like Cincinnati. I think they'll take a step back, but they'll come back. I'm interviewing the Super Frog on Friday.
Nice.
I'm talking about the college football playoffs, and so I've got all those cool videos. I made a few hypnotoad things. I've because my dad. Okay, fuck it. I'm going back in the closet. Where is it? 2 seconds.
I love the Hypnotoad.
All right. I can't find my hypnotoad frogs by 90 shirt. But I could see TC taking a step back, but I love that program. But speaking of programs sticking in the Big 12, Oklahoma, Texas, SEC.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's probably more than just like two dudes who dress up in mascot suits to like really understand and like devolve, but we're kind of involved with athletics. So
For sure.
what was your reaction when you first heard the news that Oklahoma was going to the SEC?
Um, I was like, what? I thought so. I mean, the rumors were building, and I was
Mhm.
like, no way. That's just like there's been talks. People have been wanting OU to go to the SEC forever. Um, so I didn't even really believe it until it had really been like drilled into my head, and I had heard it from certain sources. But I think that's awesome. I think it's great. I wish I was on the team to be able to travel to those away games because that's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be a good thing for OU and Norman in general, with all these people traveling out of state from further locations. Probably staying longer, and then new people. So it's I think it's going to be great for the economy. Oklahoma's already growing a ton. I've been here my whole life, so it's amazing to see it transform. And I think this is only going to help even more, just a little bit. So I think
That's
it's going to
actually
be
the first, and you're speaking like a true native Oklahoman. And I can tell because like California Oklahoma fans, I love shitting on California. California Oklahoma fans would be like, "Oh, it's great because we get to play Auburn and Bama." But like as a native Oklahoman, you're like, "Oh, this will be good for like the people, like for our state. People are coming in. There's more revenue, and like that's kind of like a noble thing that I haven't heard that perspective. I kind of think in the back of my head, but sorry to interrupt, but keep going.
no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I think the SEC is more interesting. Of course, it's bigger. And the Big 12, like, we've been there since its beginning, and it's just like this, like, we have Kansas and Iowa and all these like middle of nowhere schools. No offense to them, because we're also pretty much middle of nowhere, but it's just it's good also for a test of our athletics. I think the SEC is more powerful overall. I think they're a tougher conference, and so I think it's going to build us up and make us even tougher, and really prove if we're the blue bloods we've always claimed to be. Because a lot of times we make it to playoffs or we make it to some bowl game here or there, and it's usually more often than not we get destroyed by the SEC team. So I think we're going to suffer badly in the beginning, and especially now because of how our team's done this season. But I think that's inevitable, and I think it's just like any other failure, any other rough patch. Like, we're gonna grow out of it even stronger than before.
Mm-hmm. So I heard Oklahoma State, the Bedlam might be ending, or at
Yeah.
least, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so next year might likely be the last Bedlam ever, and I don't think the Oklahoma State program would be too receptive to doing a preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be awesome if we had an out of conference rivalry game every year like other schools do. But we have Texas at least, and I think that's the best college rivalry in the nation. Getting to meet in halfway between both schools in neutral site Dallas, at the Texas State Fair. It's the biggest weekend in Dallas, and it's absolutely amazing. So honestly, like, we have our rivalry, we have it. It's fine. And little brother can cry about whatever they want to, but sorry, we're moving on to bigger and better things.
So, what advice could you give to someone who wants to come to Oklahoma and be the mascot, besides just try out, because that's the first step? What kind of person does it take to be Boomer?
I wish I could give like a good definition, because I wasn't even really that person that I became or that becomes the mascot. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I'd say more than anything, it's openness. You have to be open. You have to be willing to try things. You have to be have some motivation, whether that could be like self-motivation to do it, or find a motivation for the reason for being the mascot. If it's like, even if it's something vain and egotistic, like it was in the beginning for me,
mhm,
because it doesn't matter why you do it, like it's going to transform you. It's going to
mm,
make you a better person. And so you need a lot of willingness to change. And we've had all kinds of people become the mascot. Some were high school mascots, some had no experience whatsoever, like me. Some were really shy and introverted, and this really helped them break out of their shell. Or some were super extroverted, really popular, maybe a cheerleader or something. It's all across the board. We're not super strict, we don't have like a super intense like tryout or all these like requirements to become the mascot. It's really more about character more than anything else.
mm.
And yeah, so
One of the biggest things for us that I've just absolutely loved this year is our mascot crew. A lot of us are in Greek life, and we're all on the Greek row. So a lot of us will
Mhm.
convene every weekend, and we'll have all the mascots hang out every
That's
weekend. We're
cool.
we're like a literal family. It's not just like
Yeah,
we're the coworkers. We're a little
right.
family. And obviously, you went to Japan with one of your mascots.
Yeah.
So what is the Boomer family of mascots like? How close are you guys?
Pretty close. I'd say it can be a mixed bag, but I'd say for the most part, like we are pretty tight. We hang out every week with meetings, and then usually we'll a common thing we used to do was go out to CC's after like a meeting or something. And then also, like, because we go to UCA camp and UCA nationals, we try out for that. We spend a lot of time going on trips together, and doing hard shit together, not just games, but like spending a week to prepare a skit, building stuff, meeting at someone's house for the whole week, like 12 hours a day, just grinding. So when you go through stuff like that with people, it really helps you bond. That's how you connect with people. And yeah, so I mean, we're a very close family. I lived with one of my teammates. We were good friends. I went to Japan with another teammate. We're good friends, and that extends too. It's not just within the mascots; it's within the spirit program. My best friend was a roughneck. Very good friends with cheerleaders and pom and everyone. Like, a lot of us just kind of will feel out and find each other, and so it's really awesome. And I'm happy to have been a part of not only a team of mascots, but a whole larger team of OU Spirit.
Yeah. So being the mascot on campus, for me at least, when you're in suit and everyone's cheering, and then you like change out and you're like walking back to your house after a football game and everyone's in the streets, and you kind of look around and be like, these people don't even know who I am. And like you're covered in sweat. Oh,
Yeah.
how does it feel having one of the biggest secrets walking around Norman? And like if you go to a bar or something, be like, hey, so that was
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like that the Clark Kent Superman dynamic. It's like it was especially crazy my first year, because yes, traditionally, like, it's a secret. We try to keep it. We don't just go telling people, but we do have gear that says OU mascot, like our
Mhm.
backpack or this and that. But it's still like frowned upon to be like, I'm the mascot. You know, that's just like not cool.
Mhm.
And usually if people ask, it's like, well, you have an OU football shirt on. Are you on the football team? You know, it's kind of the way we spin it. Like, I'm just a fan of the mascots. It's not a big deal. But people get it, and especially your friends are going to get it. And then throughout the years, people are going to understand more and more, and kind of maybe even recognize you just from going to appearances on campus and everything, and word spreading.
Mm.
And then once you graduate, of course, you can do like your reveal, like we post on the Boomer and Sooner Instagram, like
Mhm.
it was them, and like in the stadium on senior night when it's your senior night, they kind of announce like that you were one of the mascots. Um, so it doesn't stay secret forever, but definitely, especially in the first years, and then even if we would go to appearances off campus, like you're a celebrity, you're a superhero in the suit. Like people are running up to you wanting things, they were running after you, kids are screaming, and then I go in a little closet, change out of it, I'm rolling out with a bag, and people are just like, don't think twice about
Uh-huh.
me walking out. I'm just like, that's so weird. But it's cool. It's like I get a little taste of, I guess, like celebrity life, you know,
Mhm.
and then I can go back to being normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for us, it was definitely like until this last year, it was always super on the down low. People didn't know
Mhm.
about it. But then as we just kind of recruited more and more people like in that were in the Greek life, at that point, their entire fraternity knows it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once your entire fraternity knows it, they're going to start telling other people. So
Yeah.
it just more, I mean, like comparatively to the entire university, like no one knows,
Of
but like in
course.
our niche circle of like people, like a lot of people do know. Kind of it got, so I do understand of trying to keep it secret because I'd be trying to walk just down trying to get some Jersey Mike's like a sub. And
Yeah.
I was with my friends, and then like some random person would stop me, like, "Hey, aren't you the?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. Yeah.
And it got
I,
like, can you do the dance? And I'm like, I'm not gonna do the fucking dance. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna be your little dancing monkey in the streets right now.
Yeah.
Like, let me get a sub. So there's definitely like the pros of keeping it secret like that. I mean, like, yeah, if I'm in a big social scene, like, and someone comes up to me, I might be like, "Oh, indeed, I am." But
Right.
it,
Right.
it does.
I for sure used it as kind of a like a, yeah, I'm something, like it's a good identifier. It's by far
Mhm,
the best identifier you can have. You know, it's going to make you really memorable if you're like, if someone's like, hey, he was the mascot, they're like, oh, you know, it's like, and it's not even like a, wow, he's so cool. It's just kind of like it's a cool thing, you know what I mean? So
mhm,
it's really not like, it's not too much of building you up, it's not really bragging. I was one of the founding fathers of my fraternity at my university, so like
Oh,
everyone knew, of
oh,
course.
which house?
Pi Kappa Alpha.
Oh, Pike. Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm an
So
ATO.
really,
Yeah, I heard you Oklahoma ATO is like really big or like
it's pretty
really.
good. It's pretty good. All Greek life at OU is really big though. Like Greek
Uh,
life is OU is huge. So, yeah, ATO is pretty big. Pike just came back on campus, and I had left another fraternity the year before that, and so I was like, sounds cool. I'll try it out. And I was ended up being a founding father. It was really
nice.
fun. Still close with a lot of my brothers and everything. And then we've had other people in Greek life that were mascots. So of course, you know, their house is gonna know. Like it's hard to keep that a secret.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, like you said, compared to the rest of the university, like you're still, people aren't gonna know. It's not like you're the star quarterback or anything. You know, no
mhm,
one's gonna like know who you are.
mhm. So another segment I was talking about with Daniel is just when I tell people mascot stories, everyone kind of it's already kind of implied that the mascot has insane, lovable stories like going to travel at away games, meeting other people. I get
Yeah.
to interview people now, which is awesome. But I always end up telling the same horror stories because people don't really know like sometimes when shit just like goes like really wrong, not like injuries but like
Yeah.
when like you're like, oh what's happening right now, and like you have no visibility and just like people are screaming at you, get out of the way, like the Ralphie like trying to
Yeah.
run into me. What would be a horror story that boomers experienced?
Um, I took some notes. Honestly, like that's the thing, is I haven't had that many bad stories personally, but other people, other of my teammates, they've got some crazy stuff. But um I'm thankful nothing crazy as bad has happened. Like I've done, like I've done some naughty stuff, but
Mm,
and we at least for kids, we're like, no, we're not going to hold kids. We it's just like a no. Like
I
we
did.
have to be like, no, he can't hold kids. I'm sorry. I guess my worst story, kind of scariest, was this was in OU Texas. The first one I did as a mascot. I think it was 2018. Yeah,
Mm,
2018, and it was really hot. So it gets pretty hot in Dallas in October, and it was probably like 90 something degrees weather outside. And then, of course, in the middle of the stadium, it's even hotter. And then in the suit is even hotter.
hmm
And so uh, that game was intense, just like usual. I think we ended up losing that game. Yeah, we ended up losing that game. That was with Kyler Murray's year, but I was going crazy the whole time, and just the energy of it was amazing. And I was having a blast. I think I even brought my parents down, like got them sideline and had them walking around and stuff. So that was just a really fun game. And with away games, we do the whole game, because normally at home games we do half of the game, and then
Yep.
fresh mascots will do the second half, right? So not with away games, we do the entire thing. And I was so drenched at the end of it. I was pretty much dehydrated. I was very dehydrated, like almost dangerously. And ended up having to take all this stuff back to the mascot bus, or to the bus with like cheering everyone. No shower, no nothing. Driving 2-3 hours up to Norman in my stinky yucky. That happened often too, man. That would happen all the time. But that was by far the worst, just with how sweaty I got. Like I would take the head off and it was dripping. I would take the furs off and they were dripping. And I sweat a lot anyways, let alone when I'm
Mm.
exercising or something, or especially in a fur suit. So yeah, not fun. And I don't like being dirty. I don't like being
Yeah.
sweaty, especially that long in a bus. So
Yeah, that's like a low flying thing, as like how badly you sweat. And especially I'm sure it gets even hotter in Oklahoma than it does in
yeah.
Oregon. Of just one time I don't have 10 pounds to lose on my skinny ass. And like I lost 10 pounds of water weight to the point where I was sickly. I was kind of like fading in and out of consciousness walking back to my
Really.
house. And I just passed out. I think I passed out at 4 p.m. and I woke up at noon the next day.
Sheesh.
And I just felt sick. I was like, this is not good. I'm not enjoying this. But
Yeah.
you're talking about away games. I'm just gonna share the screen just one more time. We got the Big 12, baby. How
Yeah.
which some of these schools have you gone to away games for?
Um, so Texas, we don't have away. We only have neutral. So I've done
Mm,
Texas, and I did Kansas State in 2018, which is when we also lost to them. And actually, that's the only away games I've gone to.
mm,
Because our team's so big, we have to really be selective about what we go to. So usually, each of us gets one away game a season,
mm,
and uh and then like the more senior members can get to choose to go to like a playoff or a bowl game. And I
mm,
both years I was eligible to. I selected national championship, and of course we didn't make it either time,
mm.
which is upsetting. But I heard some horror stories about how like the Orange Bowl went for the mascots, so I'm not too upset about not going to that.
Mm.
But yeah, Kansas State. I actually really like the atmosphere there. It's cool. Like they have a hill like right around this some of the stadiums. You can like look into the stadium from the hill, which is pretty cool.
There's a
Like huh?
there's a hill in Kansas.
Yeah, the hill. So like on one of the sides, one of the ends, you can walk up the bleacher steps, and then you like walk out. It's really cool. So it's like in a bowl actually, the stadium, and it's pretty cool atmosphere. Their mascot, they love him. They like introduce him. They're like Willie the Wildcat, and then everyone cheers. He runs out, and then he like does something, and everyone chants with him. So I wish we did something like that. We kind of do for the Schooner, which is good, but um, yeah. And we lost that game, and they stormed the field, and that was not fun trying to get to the crowd. My coordinator was like holding my hand, like grabbing my arm, and people were just like cussing at me and like
Oh yeah,
saying all
yeah.
this nasty stuff.
Yeah, what was it like being on the field when Kansas State stormed against you?
Yeah, that was not fun. That was like I've never been to any field storming before, and so that was kind of crazy. And I was a little scared. I was like, "Are we gonna get like hurt? Like, I don't know how this works." And so they got me out. He got me out, and it was very humiliating and demoralizing. Like, we had hardly ever lost. That was height of Lincoln Riley. That was Kyler Murray. So it was rare for us. Or no, that was Baker, I think. But it was rare for us to lose, and so that it was not a. I don't want to do it again. I'll say that.
So you said fans were like cussing you out and like you
Yeah,
had to have like an escort like pull you away
yeah,
to the locker
yeah.
room. Yeah, once I was at that Colorado game, they weren't too good. They weren't as bad as they were this year, but they weren't too good. And they beat us somehow and they stormed the field. Actually, we kicked a 63-yard field goal to go into overtime because you can do
Wow.
that in Colorado because the air is so thin.
Oh yeah.
And so we kicked that field goal and then we lost in double overtime. So Colorado stormed the field. And I had to just like before I didn't want to be because they were like when the students are standing on the railings and they're like looking down. At that point, I just went back to the locker room and Colorado and Boulder, the mascots, they have a TV in the locker room. So I just had to watch the end of the game in there. I'm like, I am not getting the shit kicked out of me. That's another like scary thing is it's like when you're the mascot on the field and you see those students running towards you, you're fighting
Yeah.
for your life at that point.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah. People are. I feel like they're much more likely to like beat up a mascot, like jump a mascot, than a person. Because they don't see it as a person in the heat of the moment. They're just like, oh, this big furry dude. Like I'm gonna kick his ass.
So in terms of hanging out with other mascots, you said you go to Dallas. We have our Pac-12 championship in Las Vegas, and the Pac-12 championships 2021 is kind of like the famous, infamous one of just all the mascots just being absolutely belligerent and just stupid, walking down the strip, just acting like total asshats and just having the most fun of our lives. What's it like in Dallas when you get to hang out with the other Big 12 mascots?
um, Honestly, pretty fun. Like somehow we're all friends with each other. Like we all love each other. Interestingly enough, a former OU mascot who was on the team a year after or joined a year after me, just last year, married a Texas mascot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool little story about them. She was only a mascot for I think 1 year, 1 or 2 years, but she went to camp and met this other mascot, this Texas mascot, and was like, he's really cute. And then they just like started talking, they started dating, and then recently got married. So that's super cool, and I'm really happy that happened. But yeah, I mean, we're all friends. Like some of the Pistol Pete's, one of them I went to high school with in our tiny, less than 10,000 people town of Tuttle, Oklahoma. Um, so there's lots of connections between everyone, and it's very cool. We all followed each other and like on Instagram or whatever,
Yeah.
and kept up with each other's stuff.
How did the personalities differ for the Big 12 mascots?
It is definitely fitting with like their school matches their mascot, which matches the person in the suit. Very often so. I don't want to talk too negatively on anyone, but like the Texas mascots fits them pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're pretty structured, but at the same time, like they get access to a lot of good stuff. They're part of the athletic department over there, so they get like lots of goodies. And Texas got a lot of money, so they're in Austin, so it's like it's fitting. They're kind of weird, but kind of like hip, which is cool. Kansas, so Big J and Baby J, like it's Kansas. It's the middle of nowhere. It's nothing. They got cornfields, and so I don't want to say they're like simple people, but like they're kind, and they're like out of the way, like
Mm-hmm.
unassuming, I guess you could say. Gentle, I don't know. Kansas State, so Willie the Wildcat, he looks like a football player or basketball player. Like it's literally like just a head instead of a
Yeah.
helmet. And he kind of gave me that vibe when I went to like it was the same one at media days that I met at the game, and then I met the others at the game, and like, yeah, they're all like football players that didn't make the team. That's the vibe I got. No offense, guys. And then um, Iowa State, kind of similar to Kansas, but maybe a little bit more corn involved, but also sweet, fun. They're the Cyclones, and so she was, I don't know if Wendy's an adjective. I don't know if that works. A person describing a person, not in any bad way, but West Virginia, the Mountaineer. Yep, that's what you expect. Rugged Mountaineer, real beard and everything. Drinks, like Busch Light or something. And, goes hunting and has a cabin in the woods or something. Fits him very well. He was a nice guy too. Pistol Pete, Cowboys, 100% Cowboys. They all live on farms. They're throwing hay bales in the summer when they're not at school. Fits them very well too. So, I went to high school with one of them, and it totally fit his character. But yeah, who else am I missing? Texas Tech. Texas Tech. I mean, it's Lubbock. It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. And it's weird vibes there. And they're kind of like isolated. It's like it's Texas, but if they didn't get people from out of state, the vibe I get from them. And they're cool. They're fun. They're kind of weird, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Baylor. So as you can imagine, Baylor's like a lot of money, big program, and in Waco. I don't know what else to say about Waco. They got an interesting history, and it's similar to Lubbock, but in a different vein. Like Waco's kind of I don't want to bring the Colts into this or anything, but no, I'm gonna leave that. But they're cool. No, the Baylor mascots are really cool. They're very professional. They're very organized, which is fitting with their program too. And then TCU, I mean, Super Frog, like,
I feel like that guy's the craziest.
They're crazy. They're just like down for whatever. And yeah, and I mean, like, TCU is an interesting school as well. And I like it, and it's it's in Dallas.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, in terms of like our mascots, I'd say like how you imagine the Stanford tree is exactly like it's this dude who's like Stanford has got all this rich money. He's like this total Bay Area, like he's this total preppy kid, but he's just like telling you these stories like, yeah, back in the 90s, this dude cut off part of his toe to become the tree. And I'm like, what they have some the tree recruiting cycle is really tough because there's only one tree and he does everything. He's got his own Wikipedia page and he can talk in suit. So like the free the tree, we're gonna get the free the tree guy. I forget his name, but because he like held up the sign that said like Stanford hates fun and got fired for that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk to him about all of that. But
awesome.
Yeah, I knew a Grayson. I went to him with dude. They got their names on the Wikipedia page. That's the most Stanford shit.
Yeah, of course.
But like Cal Bear, the Oski Bear. I mean, my dad went to Cal, so he's always like Oski's just supposed to be like high as shit. This dopey bear. So like the Oski people are always just like giggling and happy to be there. Washington State, those dudes are just. Oh, dude, I literally envy everything they do. They are the funniest guys because it's like also like Washington State out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, what are you gonna do? Just like drink beer and party, and like they're very professional when it comes to that, but they just come up with the funniest shit to do all the time. Yeah. So the Washington State super funny, like USC and UCLA very put together, but just very fun. That's another crazy thing is all the mascots, even the duck. I will admit, even the duck are just so friendly and nice and funny. Yeah. I say even the duck because I love the people, but just like. When you're, dude, look, okay, like man to man, when you're the mascot and that's your thing, and your rival mascot is the Oregon Duck, and everyone knows the Oregon Duck, he's always on Sports Center, he's always on all that stuff. So I always like joke with them, like, dude, stop taking our thunder all the time.
That's awesome.
But all right, and cut. Sorry, we were talking about some personal things you couldn't talk about on the podcast. Just some little break. Okay. Commercial break brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends.
NordVPN.
NordVPN is sponsoring behind the mascot. Dude, actually, that kind of leads me to my thing. Like I'd love the podcast to get big, but I think the biggest thing is just I kind of want to leave a legacy. There's so many stories out there, and just like talking to other mascots is just I think is the coolest shit. Because like when I went to Pac-12 championships in Vegas, that was just so cool interacting, hearing all these stories. So like even I'm just getting so much just out of this in and of itself. And I'm gonna edit some highlight reels. I'm gonna be put it on TikTok, and I'm gonna be
Hell yeah.
like Boomer Mascot talks about that time Baker Mayfield accidentally gave Mascot a concussion. You put that on TikTok, you get the voice samples, and it's gonna I
Oh, that's
expect it to
huge.
be awesome. And I'm
Hell
looking
yeah.
so forward to this, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had a good time.
I had an amazing time.
I hope
Thank you.
I hope I was a good enough host. I'm talking to
Oh yeah.
Texas tomorrow, so I might
Nice.
say like, so yeah, he's talking with these Texas fans. What do you say about that? And they'll be like, oh man, no, you gotta turn that shit. I gotta turn that up. But do you have any closing remarks you want to say, or any cool, fun stuff like that?
Um, I think this podcast is awesome. I think it's going to be great. You're a great host, and this is going to be, I think, big for the mascot world. And I really like, I listened to some of the past ones. I was listening to some right before this, actually, and um, just really love hearing people's stories. I think this is big for the mascot world, and I think like they can have a bigger impact because like on social media, like even ours, we made a TikTok and it got huge. Like it's really easy for mascots to be a big deal, and like and professional mascots are also that's a whole career, like that's a whole livelihood, and a pretty good one at that too. So I think mascots have an important place in society, honestly, like in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's really great that you guys are highlighting everything and hearing people's stories. And
Yeah, yeah. Daniel wanted me to come, and he's like, "Yeah, you got this energy. I want you to interview people." So we want to like start boosting this up because we did a few interviews beforehand, but we really want to start like grinding and getting into like the meat of everything. And we wanted to focus on college mascots because like one of the coolest things was that it's just like a guy. It's just like a professional mascot. That's your career, and that's one thing. But like for all of us, like we just kind of stumble into this shit, and we're like, let's see what we do. Then we travel, we meet all these people. I was about to say something, but I can't say that. But I just think that's what the coolest thing, and I can't wait just to interview more and more mascots. Like we have like the Gator coming on, we got TCU, we got the Georgia guy, and even at that point, we get the big schools, but like even like those like smaller schools too, like the Group of Five. I would love to, dude. I would kill to interview the Western Kentucky Big Red, like the block.
yeah,
That would be so. That's on my list of like wanting to interview. But thanks so much for coming on, and I guess I'll thank you. This is Behind the Mascot, and I'll end the recording right here. We can just talk for another like 3 minutes really quick. So
sure.
thank you
Thanks,
so much
Andy.
for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.